Hello, and welcome to Children in Our Lives, a program where children and adults speak about violence against children. On this show, we talk about how we relate with children. We hear different stories about children and their experiences. We also talk to members in our community and find out what they think and how we together can avoid violence against children. Today, we will focus on the issue of emotional violence. And on our discussion panel later, we will be talking to Dr. Edith Naku from the Makerere University and Mulago Hospital School of Public Health. We'll also speak to Mr. Willington Sekade from Raising Voices. Let's begin with a story told by our favorite storyteller, Mr. Wanjezi Stephen.
You are here! Very nice to see you, very nice. Hey, how are you, big man? You all right? You have grown, eh? Very welcome, my friends. We are back for our storytelling evening, and tonight, again, I'm telling a real, true story. Yeah. True. You know, of late I have been attracted by these stories about violence against children. And these people of Raising Voices have a whole, you know, because we don't normally look for them, but the stories are there. And so when Raising Voices started collecting them, they keep flowing there. I go there and get some and I come and tell you in the evenings.
Hey, that's why I can't miss.
Nice to see you. So the story I am telling you tonight is about a very, very beautiful girl called Nyakato. Nyakato.
The twin.
The twin. And her twin sister was Nyangoma. You know, Nyakato, Nyakato was so beautiful. You know, she had such white teeth, sparkling in her blue gum. When she smiled, you saw dimples on her teeth, on her cheeks. The smile of Nyakato was like the sun coming out. But, nowadays, Nyakato no longer smiles. She's so sad. She speaks very quietly. When she's speaking, she cuts her sentences in the middle and takes deep breaths. She stammers, and sometimes cuts the sentences and stops talking. Children are always laughing at her at school, and so she has stopped talking. The teachers have become impatient when they ask a question. Nyakato and then they ignore her. You know what happened? Nyakato, her parents were always fighting every night. Every night, every night.
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence, and this time it was against the woman. Until this last night, when they fought so badly that the man went in the house, the man, let's call the man Musinguzi. He went in the house, got a panga, and came to cut the woman. She came ready to cut the woman. The woman ran. The man caught up with her at the door. When he was the only thing that saved the woman was the curtain string on the door. It held the panga and the woman ran out. She was lucky. She ran to the LCs and the LC said, that man, you better go back to your parents. The woman said, at least give me my 2 girls. Let me go with them. Musingu said, no, you cannot take them. If you ever take those girls out of here, they must not come back to my house. I will not be their father anymore. I will never pay their school fees, even if they come to visit you for 1 hour. That's it. So the woman left alone and went to her parents in Kabale. The poor girl stayed, and now the man turned all the frustration against the girls. They were beaten every night. They were beaten for every little small mistake they made. They were insulted. They were called idiots. They were called anything. They were told that their mother they were as stupid as their mother. Until Nyangoma could not stay there anymore. She ran away and disappeared. Up to now, nobody knows where Nyangoma is.
Sure.
Nobody. Poor Nyakato was the smaller one. She stayed with the father. And the father tortured the girl. Every time he came, if he found Nyakato playing with the neighbor's children, the girl would be beaten, the girl would be kicked, she would be insulted.
Her daughter?
Her real daughter. And the only one. You know, Nyakato would go to school, children would laugh at her because she could not speak easily, she could not speak loudly. Goes home, she was beaten, she decided to run away from home. The news leaked to the father that she was not reaching school. The girl ran away. Many of the street kids you see actually have parents, but they ran away from the violence at home. So, stayed on the street until the police found her. They said, where do you come from? She didn't want to tell them. But eventually, a policewoman convinced her, and she told, Nyakato told her, and the woman said, let me take you to your father. At first, she refused. She said, don't worry, let's go. The moment they appeared in the compound, their father came. You fool, you idiot, you are so foolish. You have failed to go to school. Others are going to school and you are just hiding. And now you bring police people in my compound? You want me to be arrested? The policewoman said, no, she's not the one who brought us. I found her. I am the one who requested to bring her here. What happened? Oh, that fool, don't, you know, from the time that idiot of a woman ran away, I sacrificed to stay with these kids myself. Sacrificed. I sacrificed to look after them. I buy the food, they don't cook. My clothes are dirty. The house is not swept. The compound is not swept. They tried to convince the man, he was not listening. Nyakato said, policewoman, you are not leaving me here. This man will kill me. They went together. Nyakato stayed at the police station. I was staying at the reception center, at the central police station, until eventually she was saying, please take me back to my mother. Take me to my mother in Kabale. The police was looking for money. Of course, the police also didn't have transport to travel to Kabale. Until they said, no, this kid belongs to that home.
Yes.
Let's go back and see. Yes. Why?
Police are good nowadays.
Yeah. So they took the girl home. And of course, at first the man was shouting and shouting. And this time, the shouting attracted all the neighbors. The neighbors came. They said, what's the problem? How? This fool. The policewoman explained what had happened. And now, all the neighbors, all of them without exception, said, Musinguzi, you are the wrong person. Musinguzi, we know you. Musinguzi, you were torturing your wife. Musinguzi, you tortured Nyangoma until she ran away. You have been torturing this kid. She has never had a chance to be a child like other children. She has suffered. We know you. Yes. When Musinguzi saw that everybody was against him, and especially the elders like these people, Musinguzi coiled and became small. And he said, now, well, they said, we know you. He said, please forgive me. Yeah. He asked for forgiveness. And he told the elders and said, you know, you people, I'm really sorry because when my father died, you are the people who brought me up, and I would like really to listen to you and to respect your word. I will never beat my daughter again. He picked the girl. And Nyakato now, for once, was loved, and he apologized and took the girl in and said, if God can help me and I find Nyangoma, I would never beat my children again. The police left, leaving Nyakato in the house, happy as we talk. Nyakato is going back to school, but simply because the police did the right thing, brought the girl home and stood their ground, and the neighbors did not want to cover anything bad. Yes. They stood their ground, they exposed, and Musinguzi had no choice but to agree with everybody. If we all can do our social responsibility in our neighborhood, yes, our children would be safe. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. That's the story for today. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.
With me now, I have Dr. Edith Naku from the Mulago Hospital and Makerere University School of Public Health, and Mr. Wellington Sekade from Raising Voices, a Senior Programs Officer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Naku, you are very passionate about children's rights, yes? Yes, I am. And you've listened to the story. What do you think?
Well, I think that Nyakato is undergoing a lot of emotional violence. I think she's had a lot, and I think, like many children in Uganda, she's a very good example of what's going on in our society, of how adults treat children and how we consider them as not people and mistreat them, put our anger on them for various, because like in Nakato's case, it's the father and mother who had a bad relationship, and here is poor Nakato getting the brunt of all the pain. And her sister has already run away, as we have seen in the story. It's really a sad story, but this is the reality of what is going on in our society. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some people might want to ask you, what exactly is emotional violence?
Emotions are like a state of mind, or not just state of mind. It includes feelings, it includes psychological feelings, it includes actually also physical things like heartbeat and feelings of panic. All those are part of the emotional spectrum. And then violence is intention to harm, people doing acts of harm. And in this case, emotional violence talks about adults interacting with children emotionally with an intention to harm them or to hurt them.
How do you know that a child is experiencing emotional violence? What are the signs?
Children, all of us, not only just children, all of us, if we have emotions. They may be unpleasant or pleasant. Like joy is a pleasant emotion, happiness, and then of course sadness is a sad emotion, and fear is a negative emotion. So if someone is exposed to negative emotions all the time, they will start acting unusually, abnormally. For example, they may find it hard to smile because they are so used to this negativity coming to them, negative especially coming from an adult who's supposed to be protective of this person and supposed to be nurturing them like a plant to grow, and instead we are putting all this negativity on the child. So this child will react funny. Sometimes they may not be happy when you expect them to be happy, or sometimes they may hide away or try to, I don't know what they call it, curl inside. Like you don't, because as human beings we are supposed to communicate with our friends and our neighbors, but for this kind of child, she'll be withdrawn. Yeah, you talk to them, they don't want to answer, they're afraid, timid. All those are signs of people who are, yeah.
Now, if someone says to a child that they're stupid, that they're ugly, but the child knows that they're maybe clever or good-looking, do you think the words will still affect them?
Definitely, yes. In various ways, children look at adults to protect them, to motivate them, to inspire them, and also learn from them. So you just take the example of when you're at home and all the time you are frequently abused by your parents or guardians, as well as other adults around the home, telling you you're hopeless, you will never make it, you're useless. You feel humiliated as a child, and what happens is that quite often they are always intimidated for minor day-to-day mistakes that anyone else can also do. Everyone makes those mistakes. So now the child really feels bad about it, and you feel unsafe at home. Then when you go to a school, you take the example of a school setting, and you're in class, all the time the teacher is telling you that this subject is not meant for people like you. How did you make it to this class? And maybe can't you try your talents elsewhere? Because ideally school is supposed to be a place where we all go to learn. And we are guided as in the learning process. So now you are looking at a teacher who is supposed to motivate you and is discouraging you. Now a child feels isolated in that class and will always fear this particular teacher, as well as having negative attitude towards that subject, because at the end of the day you think you're not good enough. And even when you try, you'll never make it, because a superior who is an adult is telling you that you can't. Now, when you also go to other forms of abuse, emotional abuse, they not only come from the adults, but also peer to peer. Like, for instance, you find children abusing each other based on their family background, based on the words they've also had around others saying, like, for instance, in a school, bullying is a sign of this. You find another saying, oh, even teacher so-and-so believes he will never pass the subject, so you can't play with us. You don't have anything to add to our group. So a child feels minimized in this circumstance. Yeah.
Dr. Naku, this is something that many people would say is normal. Very many people do it. Like you said, it might happen at home, it might happen at school. So a lot of people probably think that because we all do it, is it really wrong?
There is what they call normation. We as societies can make bad things to become normal. That is part, students of social sciences and psychology know more about this than I do, but it's a common thing. So when we do things like that and we think that they are normal, they are not. The important thing is, what is the result of that action? If it's a negative result, even if it's part of our culture, we just have to change it. If it's harming children to the extent that even doctors and psychologists and teachers are noting that this thing has a negative impact, we as a society are really mandated to change that. So much as it's very common and it's human, all of us as human beings, we have this instinct to dominate. It's not only in the male, it's in the female species, everywhere. But it's also important that we nurture. And as adults who have children in our hands, parents, teachers, games masters, coaches, everyone who comes into contact with children, it's very important that we look after these children and help them to grow up into the kind of adults who we would like to look after us when we are old and incapacitated and unable to move.
and also maybe to add on something here, the fact that we see others doing it, we tend to think it's okay. What's wrong with it? Because everyone does it. Teachers do it, parents, So does this mean that there's anything wrong with barking at children, talking to them in a harsh tone? And one may even wonder that what else, quite often when you don't bark at children, they don't learn. So you want us to treat them, how do you specifically want us to treat them? You want us to spoil them? But it's a question of also looking at how the feelings of the children are portrayed when we are trying to discipline them, we are trying to guide them. So you cannot discipline me by abusing me. Definitely you're kind of pushing me away from getting the information. And that is how bad the problem is. Then you also find that it becomes a little bit hard to draw a line simply because I went through it. What's wrong with them also going through the same?
A lot of people have that problem. They grew up in that kind of environment. So to them, they're like, but I went through this. I went through this. You can see me, I'm here now. So this is how I know how to do it.
Yeah, and actually there is a psychologist called Peter Hyman who says that most of us want to bring up our children the way we are brought up, even if it was bad, even if it was good. Of course, if it was good, the better, but most of us would want, because that's what we know. And it calls upon us to reflect and say, really, maybe I don't know better. Maybe I should try to listen, talk to people like Raising Voices, talk to other people who deal with children and say, how can I do this better? All of us were brought up in kind of, I mean, the African society is not a very child-coddling society. But at the same time, in our culture, there were some very important things that helped people bring up children well. So we need to revisit the good things, leave out the bad things, and then move on for the good of our children. Otherwise, if you're angry, it's easy to react, but think, how is that person feeling that you're, and how did you feel as a child when your mother, your teacher made you feel small, or your friend, and do different.
So when you say it's about the effect on the children, do children feel bad for just a short time and then they go outside and they play, or does this have long-lasting effects?
It does have long-lasting effects. Emotional abuse has a long-lasting effect because people actually, they talk about people after, especially in the first 5 years of life. If you are like emotionally deprived, emotionally abused, these people grow up to be very disruptive members of society and very difficult to deal with. I mean, even in the office, you find this is a person doesn't want to, will do what they want, impulsive. It leads to this impulsive bad behavior because they kind of grow up not knowing, even if I do something good, I'll be abused. Even if I do something bad, so they don't learn how to negotiate and navigate in life. So it really has long-lasting effects on the child. And if I'm sure you've had more testimonies.
Yeah, actually, quite often people wonder that even when you attack children, it just happens for a very short period of time. And then, after abusing them, they just go on the playground and play with other kids. So it does not necessarily continue. But that is not true because it has both short-term and long-term effects, just as the doctor is saying. A child may not be in position to speak out his or her feelings to you because you are bigger than him or her. But that child also equally has feelings just like you. Just take the example of us here. If we are told to reflect back on our early childhood, it won't take us long to know or to remember the people who treated us well and those who mistreated us, those who motivated us and those who didn't, adults who encouraged us and those who discouraged us. But here we are in our 30s or even 40s. That shows that, you grow up to keep this on your heart. One, your esteem is lowered. You believe you are more capable, but someone is kind of blocking you out. And then, the confidence that you should have. You also find children losing trust in adults, that even if they have a problem, they can't express themselves. Everything you try to do, you wonder, why is it always you to be blamed? Because you even see others making similar mistakes and maybe they go away with it and no punishment is given to them.
When children are emotionally abused, we don't give them that ability to create, to be creative, and because they are so bothered by how mommy treated me, how teacher so-and-so said I'm stupid, that they don't have a chance to use that other part of their brain where we could be having more scientists in Uganda, maybe. I mean, that's just a theory. Someone could go and research it. Maybe it's because of how we treat our children. We don't give them a chance to be creative. And you see that those children who are, I noted when I was growing up, there are some children whose parents were very supportive. And I always discuss this with the people who are usually around me, my family and friends, that some of those children you see were not like A students, but they are very successful now because of the way, they were not pampered but nurtured.
So what advice do you give to adults who do this either knowingly or unknowingly and they humiliate children?
Well, I think the most important thing is to know that just like you, the very way you don't want to be humiliated, ashamed, and undermined, children equally have feelings. In everything that you try to do as an adult, you need to ask yourself, how does it make this child feel? And is it in the best interest of this child? Like for instance, when you're disciplining the child. It's not about, it shouldn't be about blaming all the time, about prophesizing doom to this child, but you need to give a provision of hope. And you need to know that children have various learning abilities, so it's not like uniformly constant. There are some things that they are doing well. Encourage them, motivate them, and also guide them. Guidance is not harsh. It does not happen there and then and stop. It's positive and continuous, that, you know, children learn even from their own mistakes. You know, if they don't make a mistake by the end of it all, it becomes at times even boring.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed this discussion very much. Thank you. So right now, I'm with Reverend Father Dr. Sylvester Arinaitwe, the Executive Director of Uganda Joint Christian Council. Welcome to Children in Our Lives. So in your opinion, what exactly is emotional violence?
Thank you very much. Emotional violence, really, it is what a baby goes through when she's a baby. Mm-hmm. Even some begin when they are in the womb. Mm-hmm. And this comes from if a mother is sad, mm-hmm. a mother is not happy, a mother, something is disturbing her. Mm-hmm. It also affects a baby in the womb.
So it affects the baby while, oh wow.
When it's in the womb.
Okay.
So when it's born,
mm-hmm.
and does not have that love, motherly love, let me say parental love, and misses that appreciation, something that uplifts a person, a baby from, to show that she's important, is important. Eventually, it turns him into be, or her, into not being very active, and you can see it in the way he behaves.
So do you think that in Uganda there are many children experiencing emotional violence?
I wouldn't say many, because I've not gone everywhere in Uganda to know whatever is happening in the communities. But I've experienced that in some communities there are some children who have gone or experienced emotional violence. Because when you deal with children, you find that they may not express it to tell you, oh, you know, I did not get someone to appreciate me when I was young and I was growing up. I did not get someone to say, oh, thank you, oh, you are cute, or you are what? But the way he behaves, the way he reacts. And also when he's in school, when he's at the school-going age, and he goes in school, the way he grasps things, the way he gets, when he's confident in himself, he's not confident, you know that this child had some problem as he was growing up.
Are there any signs that can show you someone has experienced emotional violence?
There are signs how a person reacts. A baby, you may call, not a baby now, a child. You call a child and you find he's fearing to respond to your call. You tell him something, it's sometimes not easy to grasp. When he's going, you see, the way he does things, or she does things, is not as, does not grasp like any other children. A person in his relationship with other children is timid, does not able to come out. This could be because of the emotional violence that he or she experienced. And I would say that really, and also mostly to be fearful, to do something, you see the fearing, like if the door bangs, you see the way he reacts. All of those are signs of having been violated when he was a baby.
You talked about in the long run earlier that the child may lack confidence. And what are the long-term effects? Are there consequences when this child grows up?
Long-term effects can be even when he becomes a leader, even when he marries or she marries, may not be able even to show that affection that he should have showed freely, or as a leader, the way he does with, or she deals with other people, the way he reacts, that shows that he was affected when he was young. And when you come to look at the way they react to peer pressure, they grow up. One can easily give in peer pressure, can refuse, but mostly a person who has been appreciated as was growing up is shown that you really, this is who you are, and you can stand on your own, you can do things by yourself. That will show a baby the way it reacts with peer pressure. We're not given so many unnecessary things that wouldn't have entered in or would enter.
So what should we do to protect our children from emotional violence?
This is a complex issue which needs so many players. Not only parents. If a person was emotionally violated when he was young, may not know and even may not help it. But in a country, we need like religious leaders to be involved in being close to their parishioners or their followers, and be close to them, not necessarily not in looking for funds the way it is, but looking at helping a person as a person. In developed countries, they go for counseling to help them come out of it. But I think also in our curriculum, in education, something could be done. And I think maybe that could be to work with the Ministry of Education, see how some courses which may help in bring someone from his or her own, experience, what he experienced young, which was really negative, how we can come out of it.
If you never appreciate a child, if you never tell them you're proud of them, if you're that kind of person, how can you go about it?
If a person does not know it, will not know it, it needs, as I said, needs people to help. There are some courses that could, or maybe, we have groups in the church. We have Mothers Union, we have Women's Guild, we have such groups. They would help in helping women or mothers appreciate themselves and what they can do for their children.
Okay.
So I would call upon leaders, community-based community leaders, those who are in the communities. Whatever you do, make sure that you help mothers know these things. Some may not know.
Well, thank you very much for your time on the show. So there we're talking about emotional violence, and it involves so many different aspects. It's about humiliation, it's about harsh words, it's about making someone feel small. You're supposed to make your children feel inspired, you should make them feel motivated, and you're supposed to bring out the very best in them. Thank you.